Hey everyone, so I'm going to try something new in this video, and that is this, right? I'm just going to be kind of putting all the information on this mind map type of thing, and then I'm just going to be sharing my screen and also just having a face cam on. I know this is a completely different style of video. Usually I have all the cool edits and the transitions and whatever, but the reason I'm trying this is because number one, there's just so much to cover, and number two, I've seen people do it online on YouTube and it looks pretty cool. But nevertheless, please let me know what you think of this type of video, whether I should do more of these or less of these. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into this. So how to prepare for any exam, and this what I'm about to go through really does work for any exam, whether that's a physics exam, a chemistry, a biology, whatever the exam is. It does not matter. Okay, so before we continue, I feel like I need to, once again, for the new people, talk about what my credentials are because I believe that's important. So my name is Lukman. If you're new to the channel, I scored an ATAR of 97.9, became Dux of the Year, ranked first in almost all subjects, and I got a band 6, which is a 90 to 100 in all subjects. Now, the reason I say this is because I believe it's always important to get the information from the right people, and hopefully by me showing you this, it shows you that what I'm about to tell you does work. Everything I'm telling you in this video, I use to the fullest extent, and these are the results I got. And for my GCSE audience, it applies to anyone. Whether it doesn't matter who's watching this right now, it applies to you too. So there are 3 phases to exam preparation. Okay, 3 phases. The first phase is what you call the identify and organize phase. Okay, now during this phase, it's all about organization and identifying the content that's going to be in the exam, because clarity is very important. You need to make sure you're studying for what's actually going to be in the exam. Some people might say, oh, just study, this just in case. No, you should study what is only going to be in the exam, because that's the best use of your time. So these are the steps. And also, before I continue, please make sure you actually apply these steps. Don't just watch this video for entertainment. Okay, hopefully this is a educational video the way I see it. So phase 1, identify and organize. These 3 steps are involved in this phase. Okay, so number 1, identify the topics that are going to be in your exam. Number 2, list them all out and categorize them. And then number 3, prioritize. Okay, so these first 2 steps are identify the topics that are going to be in your exam and list them all out. Look something like this. Okay, so I personally use Notion for all this stuff, but it really does not matter. Just use a paper, it doesn't matter. But this is how it looks like. So I have the exam heading, right? So in this case, biology 1 to 5 exam. I put the due date, the worth, and then here are the topics. Okay, so cell replication, blah, 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 DNA, whatever. Okay, list them all out. All right, and you got to make sure that these other topics are going to be in your exam, and that's usually comes with the exam notification. If the exam notification is too broad, ask your teacher what's going to be in the exam. Okay, once you've done this, it's important that you then prioritize. Why? Because not all topics are equal. You don't want to be spending all your effort equally on all these topics, because some topics you're going to know really well, some you're not going to know really well, and some you're going to kind of know. So how do you actually prioritize these topics? Well, the method that I use is called the stoplight method, okay? And this method is very powerful, and it will show you what you need to work on. So I want you to do this either after this video or right now. Either digitally or on paper, go through each dot point of your syllabus and highlight following these rules, okay? And by the way, if you're in Victoria or Queensland or whatever, it's sometimes called a study design, sometimes called a syllabus, sometimes called a specification. Whatever it is, go through each dot point that's going to be in your exam and highlight it based off of these rules. Okay, you want to highlight it in green if you know the content. Okay, so I know this for sure. Test me on it. I know everything. You're confident. Then I want you to highlight on orange if you kind of know it, but you need to revise. Okay, do you know how there's some topics, you know it, but it's kind of like an iffy topic. You need to revise it, right? And then I want you to highlight in red for all the content you actually do not know. Okay, for whatever reason, you just don't know the content. Now you might find that there will be no reds. You might find that there will be no greens. Whatever it is, this is a very important step, because it's going to clearly visually show you what you need to work on. Okay, and here is an example of the biology HSC syllabus. So as you can see here, let's say, for example, cell replication is going to be in the exam. Model the processes, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I know this, so I'll highlight them on green. Assess the effect of cell replication. I use a different color here. I think, yeah, so for this example, I used purple and by the way, the colors you use is completely up to you. I just it looks like a stoplight, so that's why I put these colors, but it's completely up to you, right? So in this case, the purple is the red. Sorry about that. But it says the effect, so I don't know that at all. These ones I kind of know, and blah, blah, blah. So what's the aim of this exactly? The aim, the ultimate aim, is that when you do this, okay, when you do this traffic light system, now, of course, depending on your scenario, some of you may be watching this with your exams literally in 2 days or a couple of days. Some of you might be watching this in a couple of weeks. And depending on where you are, you might not be all green, but at least make it majority green and some orange. You want to get rid of all the red stuff, and you also want to make sure there's more green than orange. Okay, and this is why, by the way, cramming sucks, because when you cram, this stuff becomes harder. All right, so that is the first step. All right, pretty simple. It's all about identifying and organizing. Now, once you have that all sorted out, you then want to go on to phase 2, which is the learn and revise phase. So during this phase, you want to learn and revise all the topics in the order of red to orange to green. All right. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the method that we just used to identify what we do and don't know. Right. This method here. Whatever 3 colors you've used, I'm using this example for now. You want to revise in that order, going from red, which is the content that you don't know at all, to orange, kind of know, and to green, you do know. Why is this? Because you want to spend less time on the content you already know and more time on the content that you're struggling on. Okay, this is how you use your time effectively. I used to go through this really, really bad. I used to, for maths specifically, I used to always only revise the topics I knew because it made me feel good. I only used to do questions on the topics that I knew I could get right, and I used to avoid all the topics that I just could not do, or I was scared to do, or I was not good at. And because of this, despite how hard I studied, in year 11, I literally got like 60, 70%. Why was this? Because of this right here. I was not prioritizing. I was only focusing on what I knew. And because of that, I had like a placebo effect walking into the exam, thinking I was going to smash it, but I did terrible, right? So it's very important. Put your time towards the things that you're really bad at, you suck at, you're struggling on, because even though it feels very uncomfortable, this is how you score above 90% and 100%. Okay, so how do you revise? First thing you want to do to revise something is you want to understand. Okay, now understanding, what's the definition of understanding? Is that you should be able to explain it to me. So if I was like to you, what does this mean? You should be able to explain it. That's one definition. And the other definition, to me personally, is that you shouldn't have any more questions, right? You should know everything. You should, if anyone was to ask you a question, you would know, right? That's understanding something, understanding how it works. All right. So how do you understand something? Well, there are multiple ways, but here are the top 4 ways that I personally do. The first way is obviously just reading. Okay. Read the textbook, online sources. I always used to just search up online. I still do search up online for the content, read some article, of course, the textbook is really great. So if you've done the textbook and you've read stuff and you still kind of don't understand, the next step I'd want you to do is ask your teacher or other people. This step is the most important one. Like, this is the quickest way that you can understand something. Now, just to motivate you a little bit, your teachers are paid to teach you. So it doesn't make sense for you not to use them. They're literally there to teach you. They're paid to answer your questions. All right. And the biggest problem that students go through, and I used to go through this myself, don't worry, I had to break through this mental barrier, is that students think that, if I ask a question, I'm stupid. Everyone else around me understands everything. I'm going to be raising my hand, asking us a question that's so simple that I should really know that I don't, right? Or you're just shy. But the main reason is that students think they're stupid if they do it, right? Let me tell you something. Although you might feel stupid in that moment, right? In the future, you're going to be the one who's not stupid, okay? Because every single student in your classroom who doesn't ask a question is because they're scared to ask a question. That's my personal belief. In a classroom, if you see no one asking questions, then number 1, they're not paying attention. Number 2, they just don't care. And number 3, they're not curious learners. And if you want to be a top student, you need to be a curious learner. And curiosity comes with asking questions. Okay? So feel good that you're asking questions. Me personally, when I was asking questions, I was like, okay, great. I'm clearly the only one that's paying attention here. Right? Everyone must be dozing off, because how could he not ask a question on this stuff? And guess what? I was right. Everyone I see who did not ask questions were the ones who did the worst in the exams. The more questions you ask, the better. And there's a saying that goes, I should have written it down here. It goes like, the one who asks questions is a fool for a minute, but the one who doesn't ask a question is a fool for a lifetime. Amazing, amazing quote. Stick by that. Okay, so ask teacher and others. The next method is watching YouTube videos. Oh my goodness, I have so much respect for YouTube because of this. I kid you not, learn everything from YouTube. I am a self-learner because of YouTube, and I'm grateful because of YouTube. In uni, lecturers to me don't do a good job. I literally go to YouTube straight away. Like, I would watch a lecture, immediately go on YouTube. And same in high school. And the reason I'm referring to uni right now is because I believe YouTube, being able to use YouTube is a skill in itself. I know that sounds really stupid. If you have the ability to go out on YouTube, search up the videos that you need to personally watch and you learn from them, I think that's a very valuable skill. Because if you have that skill, you can learn anything. And in high school, I didn't rely on my teachers at all. I literally learned everything, not everything, 90%, 95% of how to use YouTube. Just search up the topic on YouTube and you will get amazing videos. Seriously, use YouTube. YouTube is amazing. Search up everything. I even watch videos on content I knew already, okay? Because there's some guy or some girl out there who's putting amazingly aesthetic videos to address what you want to learn, okay? And then the next method is, of course, ChatGPT. You can make your life easier with AI. Me personally, when I was in high school, 11 and 12, this either was not out or I was living on the rock. I didn't know. Okay. If you don't use AI at this stage in 2024, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. You can use AI for so many things. Now, when students think of using AI, they're like, no, I don't want to use AI because that's plagiarism. No, I don't mean like that. I mean in elevating the way you study. How? Use these prompts. Okay, if you don't understand the concept, explain this concept to me like I'm a 12-year-old. Any question you have, ask ChatGPT. What does X mean? Why does this happen during this process? Right? Whatever you're stuck on, ask it. Okay, that's a simple method here. Whatever you're stuck on, ask ChatGPT. It will come up with the response. Okay, those are the 4 very powerful ways to understand content. Of course, there are other ways, but I think those 4 are enough. Honestly, I think if you go through all of them, you would definitely understand something. Once you've understood the content, you then want to go on to memorizing the content. Okay, memorizing is very important because what's the point of knowing something if you don't remember it? Okay, now before I go into how to memorize something, please, this is a quick warning to all the students who rote memorize. Rote memorization is when you just memorize something but you don't understand it, because the methods I'm about to tell you right now are so powerful that you could actually memorize everything even if you don't understand it, because you're just shoving things in your brain. But I'm telling you right now, it's very bad. You're not going to be able to score high, and if you do, the minute you do that exam, you're forgetting everything. Okay, so please make sure you understand. That's why I have the 1 here. Then you memorize. Okay, how do you memorize? Again, multiple ways, but these 2 are the best ways to memorize things. The first method is active recall. What is active recall? This is just when you take information from your brain. All right? What does that mean? What students will do most of the time, and yes, I'm going to have a whole separate video on how to study effectively. That's in my upcoming video, hopefully. But briefly, what students will do is they study passively. They sit there, they just take notes. Yep, take notes, and they trick themselves into thinking they know everything when they don't know anything. Okay? Passive studying is where you just put things in your brain. Active is when you take things out of your brain. Now, this method will increase your long-term retention of the information, and you'll just be able to remember so much. Okay, so this will be in a separate video. But how do you use active recall? There's 2 ways. You can use self-testing, okay? And self-testing is probably the best way, in my opinion. And this is where you just write yourself a question on the topic, and then you answer them from memory, like just testing yourself, right? So let me give you an example. Let's say this is for a biology exam. Define mutation, and then you put the answer. And I would really recommend you use Notion for this, because Notion has a toggle feature where you can hide the answer in the question, right? But if you don't want to use that, you can just like maybe put the answer over here and then cover it. You could also use like flashcards. So define mutation is a question, and then you answer it, and you test it from knowledge. Okay, mutation, blah blah blah, and then you look at the answer. And then you go to the next question. Outline the process of DNA replication. Okay, think about it. Okay. So the next method is the Feynman technique. The Feynman technique is when you teach the content to other people. When you teach, you're learning yourself. So you're literally not only benefiting the other person, but benefiting yourself. Me personally, I didn't teach to anyone. I just taught it to my invisible friends. That's a joke. That sounds creepy. But I just pretended like I taught it to someone by speaking aloud. Okay, that to me was better than having to find someone who's interested in what I have to say, and that to me is much better, much faster. Okay, so these two methods will help you to increase your memory of the information much better than taking notes. Okay, these two methods are so powerful. Okay, I use them so much. Right now, once you've done active recall, that's not enough. It's actually not enough to just know the questions and to just do the technique and whatever. It's not enough. The thing you want to do next is spaced repetition. What most students will do is that once they learn a topic, they don't touch that topic again. They review it once because they understood it that one time in class, and then a couple of weeks go by and they don't touch the information until they've got the notification for the exam, until they've started studying. And the problem with that is now you're going to have to revise everything that you've already learned. That is a big disadvantage. So this is where spaced repetition comes in, and this is where you just simply review the information that you've already learned after first learning it over set intervals of time. And this beats something called the forgetting curve. I'll go into this in another video, but in put shortly, you'll be able to literally memorize and remember everything right up to the exam. So how do you do this? All you have to do is just review the information over increasing periods of time. So let's say over here for this question, let's say the question here is define mutation. Okay, in the moment, let's say you've tried to take the information from memory and you just fail. Okay, you just don't remember the information. What you want to do is, because you haven't remembered the information, review that information, review this question, do the question again, test yourself again in the next 10 minutes. Okay, and let's say you do the question again and you still forgot it. Okay, review it again in 10 minutes. And when you finally do remember what the definition of mutation is, okay, you then want to review that question the next day. Okay, and then when you review that question the next day, you then want to review it the next 3 days, and then the next 6 days, 14 days. It just keeps increasing. What this will do is it will continuously refresh your memory of that information. Okay, and make sure the time you have between each review is dependent on what you feel, of how you feel about that question. For example, if you define mutation is this very simple question that you literally answered straight away, you won't need to review that in like a long time. But if you come across questions that you've written for yourself and you're really struggling on it, the more you have to review it. Okay, so that is the spaced repetition technique, and this will literally allow you to remember everything. It's amazing. It's evidence-based. You can do your own research. It's backed by science. That's why it works. Okay, so that is the phase 2. Okay, that's phase 2, learn and revise. Now, hopefully during this learn and revise phase, you should update your status as you go. What status? The status of your spotlight. Remember over here, we highlighted the syllabus based off of the content we know and don't know. During the learn and revise phase, update the syllabus or the topics as you go. So for example here, right, we have the topic assess the effect of blah, 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 and that's highlighted in purple, which is red, meaning I don't know the information. Once I've learned information, highlight that, green, because now I know the information. Okay, understood? Great. Now, once we have learned and understood everything and revised, the final step is practice. Where do we start here? Practice is the most important step to preparing for your exams, okay? Make sure you are doing past paper exams and practice questions, okay? This is so important, but so many students don't do it. Why? Because they don't like doing it. It's uncomfortable. Yes, I understand. But think about it. Please just bear with me here. You are preparing for an exam. You're not preparing for a note-taking competition. Okay, so in order to prepare for an exam, you should do exam things, which is exam questions, right? I made a video on this. It's like a boxing analogy. If you're preparing for a boxing match, you're not going to prepare by watching videos and taking notes or asking yourself questions. You're going to prepare by putting yourself in that scenario. Sparring, training, things like that. That's this. Practice questions. The best method. And the massive thing I see with students for some reason is they think practice questions or past paper exams is something you do, a couple of days before the exam. No, start doing this as soon as possible, because this technique here implements active recall and so many other things. And this is ultimately the best way to prepare for exams, like full stop. Okay. Now, when you do practice questions and past paper exams, it's not only important that you do as much as you can. And by the way, the more papers you do, the better. And the more papers you do and the questions you do, the higher your marks will be. Just because you want to do a lot of past paper questions and exams, you need to make sure you're doing them effectively. Okay, if you just do questions in an ineffective way, they're not going to help you as much. Okay, how do you do them effectively? Now, I've written an entire ebook on this. I'll have that linked in the not bio, sorry, in the description. Okay, I'll have that linked in the description down below. And what this is this book is only 30 pages. Okay, it's not that big of a book. I've made it short for a reason. This goes through my 6-step formula to doing past paper exams effectively. All right, and it's the formula that I use to smash my exams. And this 6-step formula is this: number 1, complete the full past paper exam. Number 2, review. Number 3, make notes from the past paper. Number 4, review of your mistakes and your weaknesses. Number 5, do targeted practice questions. Number 6, repeat. I go through all of this in this book. I'd highly recommend. I put a lot of time in making this. It's something I wish I had. Definitely read that. Flick through it. Even if you exam in a couple of days, you have time to read this because it's short. Use a table of contents to see what step you want to specifically know. But yeah, I'm going to go through this now. That's ready or done for you in this book. I will have it linked below. Okay, so that's on practice past paper exams. Okay, and those are the 3 phases to exam preparation. Okay, if you go through those 3 phases, number 1, identify and organize. Number 2, learn and revise. Number 3, practice. I can guarantee you, okay, that you will score high and you will score the marks that you want to score. How can I guarantee this? Because I want you to be with me right now, logically. How could you not score high when you've done all these steps, right? They're simple steps and they're proven steps, okay? I have followed these to the T for all my exams and I have done very well on all of them, okay? And if you follow them too, you will do well yourself. Okay, but we're not done yet. In my opinion, the only reason why you won't do well if you follow these steps is number 1, that you don't follow the steps. You just watch this video for entertainment and you don't actually do it. Number 2, you're cramming way too much. And then what the balloons, I don't know where they come from. But anyway, number 2, you're cramming way too much. Like when you just started studying like today in your exams tomorrow, for example. Cramming sucks. By the way, I'm going to make a video on that because cramming is so bad. But yeah, so it's either that, number 1, cramming, number 2, don't actually apply it, and number 3, your psychology. For any exam you do, there are 2 aspects. There's number 1, the physical preparation that's required, and number 2, your psychology. If you walk into an exam feeling super anxious, you're literally jittering, you're going to perform badly. Or there's a high likelihood, sometimes you won't, but there's a high likelihood you're going to perform badly, and I've seen students do this. They're very smart, they do everything right, but they still do bad. Why? Because they are way too stressed out and anxious. So before to finish this video, I want to go over what to do the night before the exam. On the night before the exam, don't do any practice questions, okay? Unless you're really cramming and desperate. Hopefully you're not. Don't do any practice questions, okay? Now, why is this? You might be thinking I'm crazy. Why would you tell me this? Because this is what often happens when you do practice questions the day before. You start off by doing questions, no worries. And then you come across a question that stumbles you. It's either too hard, you never seen it before, whatever it is. And then because of this, you now question everything about yourself. Oh my God, do I really know this? Am I really prepared for this exam? Have I studied? Have I blah, 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 blah? Okay, and because of that, your stress and anxiety skyrockets, and then you don't perform as well as you could have. Okay, why? Because like I said, there's a psychological aspect to an exam, and if you're super stressed and anxious, it gets in the way of your thinking. It leads to clouded thinking, and you can't think properly. And that's why often what will happen, this happened to me in year 11, and I learned this the hard way, is that in the exam, it's like everything is so difficult, and you just can't think of anything. Your brain shuts off, and then when you get the exam back, it's like, how the hell did I get this wrong? It's because of this. Okay, so what do you do instead? Here's what I'd suggest you do. Number 1, read over your mistakes that you've made. And in the book, I talk about documenting mistakes. Number 2, and by the way, the mistakes I'll talk about in the practice questions you've done. Number 2, brush up on some notes. Okay, it's good to refresh yourself in some notes. Do this before sleeping because when you sleep, your memory actually increases. You form connections of what you learned throughout the day. And then number 3, just relax and get your mind off the exam, please. Okay, do something that relaxes you. Read a book, watch a video. I personally like to do exercise like the day before for all my exams. For the HSC students watching this right now, for both my trial exams and my HSC, 2 of the biggest exams of my life so far, I was exercising the day before and relaxing. Okay, so hopefully that's a good indication of how important this is. Now, this may feel very weird. It feels like you're not doing anything. You know, you're gonna have friends saying, "Oh, you know, I did so many questions last night," or you're gonna have friends reviewing their notes up to 1 a.m., whatever. Trust me, by doing this, you're more productive because you're going to be really ready for the exam. This is why, by the way, athletes, the closer they get to their competition day, the less they do. The same thing for an exam. And also, what I'd suggest you do during the relax stage is I'd also suggest you do some form of meditation or journaling. I journaled all the time. Okay, I have 2 journals filled out just through the span of year 11 and 12. 2 whole journals. Why? Because journaling allows you to get your thoughts from your head onto the page, and it allows you to reduce your anxiety and your stress. Okay, it gets it off. It lifts the burden off your shoulders. So I definitely suggest you do this the night before, so that you can have a good night's sleep. All right. Now, what do you do day of the exam? On the day of the exam, you want to, number 1, have a good breakfast. All right. What's a good breakfast? A breakfast that's high in protein, not too much sugar. Okay. Number 2, take some deep breaths. Number 3, mindfulness. Now, this is optional. I know some people might not like this, doing this in the morning, depends on your wake up time. But me personally, I tried, not all the time. That's why I have it optional, because sometimes I did find this hard to do. Sometimes in the morning, I'd also do some meditation and I'd also do some journaling. Okay. And finally, number 4 for the day of the exam is give yourself a pep talk. Okay. Before all my exams, even though I was like shitting it, before every exam, say out loud to myself, you're going to smash this exam. You've done as much as you can. You're going to make this exam easy. This exam is going to be easy for you. You're going to smash it. Right, so that's what you do on the night before and the day of your exam. And then finally, what do you do after your exam? Stop worrying. It is by nature, after exam, you're going to walk out being, oh my God, did I do this right? Oh my God, I think I lost this mark. I lost 3 marks. I lost 6 marks, blah, 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 blah. Please stop worrying. Okay, you can't do anything about it anymore. The exam is done. Okay, as confronting as this is, you have no ability to change what you've done. So just stop worrying about it. Because the more you worry, the more time you're taking away from yourself to be more productive on other things. Maybe your next exam, or maybe whatever else you have to do. Do not worry. Okay, and I say don't worry. Even though I also worried. Okay, it's a normal thing, but really try your best not to worry because you can't do anything about it. You can't change it at all. All right. And yeah, this here is my process for preparing for an exam. It's very simple. Do you agree? Right? I've laid out all the steps and I'm confident if you follow this, you will be able to smash your exam, score the ATAR you want, score, if you're in UK, score all A's or A stars or whatever, become ducks, whatever. All these achievements I've done, all these achievements I've had, I'm not special. I don't say that just to be humble. I'm not special. I never used to be a good student. I never did well in exams. But if you follow the right processes and systems, you'll be able to do well. That's the truth. It's nothing got to do with intelligence. Okay? So if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to subscribe, like, comment down below if you have any questions at all. And also subscribe to my weekly email, ATAR Digest. Okay? ATAR Digest is a weekly email that I've created where each week I will send you a 5-minute email consisting of key lessons, motivation and inspiration, guidance and advice from me, and so much more. Okay, ATAR Digest is something I wish I had when I was in year 11 and 12. And this, I send an email out on every Monday at 7:30 a.m. so that you can set yourself up for the week. And I also include action steps for you to follow for that week. Okay, I've already posted, it's already been running for 4 weeks. So there's 4 posts that you can read right now. That will be linked in the description down below. Okay. Yes, once again, please let me know how you find this type of video. I know this video is very raw and very unfiltered and very unedited, but I wanted to try something new. I wanted to really talk to you who's watching this video. Okay. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.